Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. Just wanted to check in with you guys this evening and see if we can do a little bit of an update. It's going to be kind of a brief, fast, and furious situation. I'm going to go over a few articles, and it's going to be about, well, firstly, al-Sudani is preparing a roadmap on the Kirkuk with important parties. So there was a sad situation, I think, that happened in Kirkuk this last couple of days. And anyway, Shia al-Sudani, the prime minister, is basically stating that there's important parties in the Kirkuk government, and what they're doing is trying to deal with a roadmap to the recent events. Okay, so Saturday's events were obviously unfortunate and almost got out of control, but they figured it out. They got it set up. It looks like they took quick action, a rapid intervention with the federal government to take a series of urgent decisions to contain the situation, to prevent clashes and stuff. And sadly there was some bloodshed this weekend. And so this last weekend, so any drop of blood obviously in anybody's case is not a good thing, but the bottom line is that al-Sudani is stressing that security and stability are a red line for Iraq, and we know that to be the case because Iraq is getting ready to go into a market economy, and to have things get out of control, security and stability to go south is probably not going to be a good idea. So they took action. There wasn't a big issue. However, loss of life is a big issue, but it wasn't a screaming civil war or anything like that. Okay, so but bottom line is it was serious. They took charge of it, and they're moving forward. So another thing that we'd like to talk about is that the Minister of Transport arrived in Jeddah to attend a maritime industry sustainability conference. We've talked about this the other day, was that they're using words like sustainability because of why? Well, maritime transport and industry is going to be a big issue coming into the future because of why? Because the borders, ports, all of that is going to be about moving commodities, oil, industry, in and out, exports, imports, agriculture. Iraq has been known to be said just recently to have curbed their inflation because they're exporting agriculture now. Okay, so there's things that are happening that are creating an environment that there's less inflation. They've got a better credit rating. They're going to be making a lot of money. It says here that the Authority for Transport, which is having a meeting, I guess, between the 4th and 6th of September, and here we are in that time frame. So the permanent members of the organization and the maritime experts from about 70 countries, they're discussing the sustainability in the maritime industry and the impact of the industry on the environment. So look, the bottom line is that they're going to have a bunch of exhibitions. They're going to have a lot of people from around 70 countries talking about trade, talking about movement of cargo, all of the different things that go with that. It's going to be a phenomenal situation because we all know that for Iraq to go international, they're going to have to be Article 8 compliant with the IMF and their currency exchange rate. They're not going to be doing all this trade, and they haven't come this far just to go ahead and do the status quo that some people like to think that they're going to do. I don't know why they feel that way, but all the news that we have in Patreon and our Discord chat room is abundant. The information is phenomenal. It says that al-Sudani is keeping things effectively close to his chest with the street, and what he means by that is he's talking about trying to keep it calm and cool with the street, and who's one of the biggest players in Iraq when it comes to motivating people to go into the street is al-Sadr. Al-Sadr is capable of bringing millions to the street within days, and so obviously he's got a good relationship. It looks like al-Sudani has been honest. Al-Sadr has noted that, and so it looks like they have a good rapport. It says one of the solutions available to Mr. al-Sudani is to go to meet Muqtada al-Sadr in light of the current and invite them to return to the scene, and guarantees will be available. And the Sadrist movement is patient with al-Sudani because he saw that he is honest, not accused of corruption. So al-Sadr is on the same page. And so we haven't seen massive demonstrations to a negative effect. Have we seen some demonstrations? Yes, we have. It says here the thousands of people demonstrated in Dohuk Governorate on Tuesday morning, earlier today, against the federal government's policy of not granting the rights of the people of the Kurdistan region and represented by the monthly salaries of employees and workers in the public sector and the Kurd share in this country's general financial budget. So ultimately what you have here is you got a peaceful demonstrations going on. People want their money, and you have to ask your question, is that why have they gone from June, or well, I should say July, August, and into September, and they're being placated for what reason? What do they know that is keeping them at bay? Because, I mean, think about it for a minute. If you didn't and weren't able to pay your July mortgage, pay your food bill, and then go into the August, and then maybe get into September and not be able to do that, why is there such a peaceful demonstration? Is it something that there's communications that aren't really public, that aren't really in the news? Is it possibly because of the fact that there's other factors behind the scenes that are motivating people's actions, reactions? Are they being placated because they have a higher authority effectively than the politicians? Is it the tribal effort? Is there specific tribes that are talking to their citizens and saying, hold on a minute? I just gave an example of al-Sadr, for instance. He's got the ability to move millions of people into the streets at a whim. All he has to do is make that call. He didn't do that. He hasn't done it yet. So obviously things are happening behind the scenes that aren't public information. It is on the street type stuff. So let's all be patient and watch, because again, they're not going to stand for not getting paid. The 2023, 24, 25 budget has not been open, and they're not spending money yet. I don't think anybody out there has any data to support that that's a fact that they have already. I haven't seen it. Bring it on if you have it. Okay, so let's go and see what they have to offer here as far as the invitations to Iraqi investors to implement tourism. Okay, we all know that the tourism in Iraq is going to be astronomical. You've got the ancient city of Ur, you've got the city of being rehabilitated in Mosul and Nineveh, you've got the south, the port of Fa, you have all these different places that are going to be ushering in visitors through the ports, through the borders, and they're all going to come in to do what? To visit and see some of the ancient relics of the country. Basically, it says here, it says that the environment today is responsive, investment opportunities are available, there are many facilities and continuous support from the regions in the governments for businessmen, investors to activate tourism sector, encourage investment in a way that enhances the state of prosperity and achieving development and optimal utilization of energies and natural resources. So the Minister of Culture and Tourism and Antiquities is out today talking about this whole type of thing, and it says Erbil, Dohuk, Suleimania will remain a destination for Iraqis and foreign tourists for this part. So it's obviously that you can see that the picture is to go international, to bring in tourism, to bring in investment, to bring in more revenues that are oil related, because if they increase production, obviously there's more money involved, but also the non-oil related circumstances. And interestingly enough, we see that the OPEC countries specifically have talked about reducing their output, which is creating an uptrend in the pricing of oil, which again, we circle back to that oil pricing going up helps Iraq, We had the Standard & Poor's giving them a stable outlook to an increasing positive outlook because of the fact is that they're now exporting agricultural wares, if you will, and they have that non-oil revenue streams coming in at the borders. So that's why they're becoming to look good, because the investment environment is ripe. It's basically suggesting that Saudi Arabia's voluntary reduction of production by 1 million barrels per day since last July, and in its continuation of the extension, in addition to the OPEC plus production cut, in an agreement in extending to the end of 2024. So they're basically pushing this extension out to 2024, and we've seen the pricing of Brent and WTI and others significantly climb in the last few days. They're basically saying that this voluntary alliance is contributing to raising the oil prices in the markets as high as 10 to 15 bucks a barrel. So at this stage of the game, we were at 88, 85 this last week. Today I watched it tap 91 bucks a barrel. So the bottom line is it's probably definitely got some weight to this. I would suggest watching the oil price to see how it plays out. If there's a massive correction for any length of time, then maybe we got it wrong. But the bottom line is that we can see it right now, is that oil pricing is on the move. It's moving up. And interestingly enough, if everybody goes and looks at the specific basket of currencies to the dollar, the United States dollar is not falling to a basket of currencies. It's actually rising. So it looks like today it closed somewhere close to about $1.04, $1.05, which is not a buck. Forgive me. It's actually a representation of a component, which is 104.5 or 105.0. Keep that in mind. And it's kind of a bullish situation because there's a lot of people that suggest that the dollar is falling and crashing at this very moment. And to a basket of currencies, that's not the case. We won't get into inflation because there's no component on that. But anyway, it's good stuff. It says the trade reveals a reason for the delay in paying salaries for the employees of the government. Well, why is that? Why are they not paying salaries? Well, the idea here is that we have a 2023, 2024, 2025 budget that hasn't started spending any money. It looks like from that emergency financial security law, they've come to a close, that they had some leftover capital for specific purposes that's been folded over into 2023. But as far as the wages, salaries, etc., they're not going to get that money until they effectively, as we put it, change the value of their exchange rate to pay those salaries, and they're expected to do that digitally or electronically, if you will. And we should hopefully see that in the coming days, because it basically states that here in this particular case, it says that the delay in the salaries of the ministry's center employees is due to regulatory procedures in the Ministry of Finance that requested its conjunction with the scheduled dates for financing the ministry's account. It says that his department has completed all the necessary requirements and is awaiting the arrival of the required funding for the purpose of direct disbursement. Well, after all these months in the last couple of years, if they were going to pay these guys their salaries at this stage of the game with a 1310 rate, why haven't they done it? Well, because we know that that's probably not going to be the case. He says that the accounting staff in the department is continuous and present, in the Ministry of Finance since the beginning of last week, so it's relatively recent, for the purpose of follow-up and completion. In other words, we're going to follow up, we're going to get to the completion. It says the employees of the ministry center for their understanding he was thanking them and their patience regarding the circumstances of the delay in the salary disbursement. So obviously there's a push for everybody to get paid. We saw the thousands of people on the street in Doha peacefully demonstrating, and no big deal. We don't have Al Sadr on the street calling in millions of people. So it's obviously, we can see that what they're talking about now is getting this whole thing done. Here's another little tidbit that's fascinating, is that the President of the Republic has confirmed his support for all the efforts they have for the oil and gas law. Well, the oil and gas law, as we all know, is definitely for the citizens. And basically, he is sponsored by the Sudanese, which is the prime minister. It says signing an agreement to develop and rehabilitate Baghdad airport. Its reveal is a interesting content. Look, the Baghdad airport is going to be a hub for international trade. It's a major issue. So they've got this set up so that they're going to rehabilitate it. So they are reiterating what I said in my last video, is that signing an agreement to develop and rehabilitate the Baghdad airport is a reveal. Yeah, of course it's a reveal. It's telling the world that they're about ready to open to the world in a big way. Basically, it says that al-Rashid, the president, says the need to exert efforts to combat all forms of corruption and provide the best services to the citizens. So here again, what are they talking about? Gearing for the citizens. And yes, we've heard this time and time again, but the bottom line is there comes a time where push comes to shove, and what they're saying at this stage of the game is looks like they're shoving it forward. He says, stressing his support for all efforts to approve the oil and gas law in a way that preserves the rights of all Iraqis. And as they go on, it says the President of the Republic for his important visit. He was thanked by Abu Bakr. He says the continuation of the province in all its circles by working to provide services to citizens and achieve their aspirations for stability. He's basically stating, we've signed an agreement to rehabilitate the airport. Our efforts are going to approve the oil and gas law, hopefully in the short term, if they haven't already. What they're basically getting to the point is that Iraq's gearing to go international, and you can see that excuse me, with all of the trade that's done with China, Japan, all the different countries, United States of America, Canada, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Iran, the borders, the trucking, everything is coming together. Okay, the imports, exports, everything's good. Iraq's oil capacity and output is increasing. The non-oil revenues are increasing, and they're exporting agriculture. So, and their credit ratings in good standing. So what they're basically saying is that we're opening for business. All of the countries that we talked about for the last 3 days, all of the articles that we show in Patreon and in Discord are supporting all the data that we're talking about here, and it isn't just a status quo. It's stuff that we've never seen before. It's phenomenal. So hey, thank you very much for this evening. I'm glad you guys stuck around with me tonight. But hey, for all those new folks, if you haven't been here, check that like button and subscribe if you would, please. And anybody that has the ability and wants to support Militiaman and Crew in our Discord and elsewhere to keep the content flowing, there's some donate buttons. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Have a great day. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.